for those people that don't know, who are you and what do you do?
I am Alex Fidoe. I am a mum of two, and I am a property developer based in Leicestershire.
Perfect. What kind of projects do you specialise in?
So up to now, I have just bought very rundown houses and flipped them. So buy and flip, they call it in the property world. That is what I've done so far. However, now, and I'm going to talk about it in a bit more detail, I'm doing things differently.
And is there any specific reason that you favoured flipping rather than like the whole other range of different property strategy options available, whether you're buying, holding, renting stuff out? Like, what is it about flipping that's drawn you to it?
So we're probably going to go into more detail about this, but I knew absolutely nothing about property before. It was an actual idea that my mum had with regards to buying somewhere, doing it up, then selling it. I didn't know about any strategies at all. I was literally clueless. So I suppose when I look back, maybe I'd have done things slightly differently. But actually, the thing with flipping is it's a good thing to start because you can build up your cash pot.
And well, when you got started, let's talk about that journey with, did you say a suggestion by your mum? Talk me through those first initial thoughts of, okay, this is maybe something I could turn into a business. Like, what was the conversation with your mum? Where did it go from there?
Okay, I'm going to start from the start.
Good, yeah.
So this was probably about 7 years ago. I actually left my corporate career. My husband at the time was living away, working away, just back at weekends. I literally just left my corporate career because after I came back from the second time after maternity leave, they wanted me to be in my Esher office 4 days a week. That was just not feasible for me. Things had changed quite a lot within that business. I'd been there for a long time, loved my job, absolutely loved my job. But I think I always knew I wanted to work for myself. But once you're in the corporate career, it is quite hard to actually come away from it. But I made a brave decision. I left and I had nothing else to go to. However, my children were my priority. And I thought, look, I will just get anything part-time. I'll work part-time. And I left and handed my car over, everything. And it was one of the scariest things I'd ever actually done. And I decided to actually start working as a training assistant. Did that, but also I was having conversations at the time with my parents. Now, my dad had been in the financial world for many years and he was in the process of selling his business. He actually wanted to invest some of his money. He'd started from scratch, started from nothing, built up this business, sold the business, and he wanted to invest in something. So Mum said to me, I have never had the money to invest in property, to do anything. She'd done a lot of interior design sort of stuff. And she said, do you know what? What if me and your father invest in a house and you could actually project manage this renovation for us, do it alongside the children, do your, teaching assistant thing. And it was only going to be a short-term thing, maybe one house. And then maybe when the children are a bit older, then, go on to other things and go back to what I was doing before. So I knew nothing about property at all whatsoever. And actually, the people closest to me were not supportive. They thought I was nuts. They thought I was mad. What are you actually doing? You know nothing about property. And I was thinking, how hard can this be? How hard can this be? So Mum and I decided to go off looking for houses. And I didn't know what I was really looking for. I didn't know. Mum enjoyed, the creation. She was quite creative. So she thought, you know what, actually, as long as this house is solid, we should be able to do something. And actually, we leaflet dropped and houses. We found nice roads and we leaflet dropped, and then we got our first purchase.
We'll come on to that first purchase in a moment. But
yeah.
I just want to jump into this idea of the people, a lot of people that were close to you weren't supportive.
No.
Do you think that's because that's something that they wouldn't have the courage to do themselves, or do you understand that? And has that changed over time? Are those people now looking back going, oh, okay, fair play?
Yeah. So do you know what? I was actually shocked by some people's responses. Part of it, I think, and I know it is getting better now. I was a woman in marketing, obviously doing what I was doing in a team full of women. And then there's a woman that then is going into quite a male-dominated industry and on a building site. I'm not the best at DIY. And I was laughed at. I was laughed at. They thought I was joking. And actually, I remember someone saying to me, well, be prepared to lose money on your first property. And he was actually an investor at the time. He had a few properties. And I was really taken aback by this. And I thought, okay, that's interesting feedback. But mum and dad were actually, no, come on, just go for it. It'll be a good challenge. So yeah, to be honest, I've actually moved away from those people over time. I can't be doing with the negativity. I'm such a positive person. And I think it's what I've learned is actually you need to be surrounded by like-minded people, the right people.
Well, your circle changes over time, and people either grow with you, or the reality of it is you leave people behind, don't you? And but has that caused challenges, or is the people that you've picked up in your journey as you move forward, is their attitudes and their support mean that it's now completely different? Yeah.
So going back to the start, so halfway through my first house renovation, in my personal life, something major happened. And I made a decision, and I had no idea what was actually then I was having to deal with for the next 4 to 5 years. My world completely flipped, and it was a very, very, very hard 4 to 5 years for me. And I have to say that actually I didn't mix with any property people. I had my close family, close friends, and they didn't really get and understand what I was doing. And because of what I was going through at the time, the last thing I really felt like doing was going out socialising, mixing with property people, because I didn't think that actually that was going to be a long-term thing. But I will be completely honest with you, because of the whatever was going on in my personal life, that property renovation was actually escape from all the rubbish. And I put all my, I suppose, the negative energy, the pain and everything else as well, that was my safety base. And I think everyone's got a story, and I'm not going to go into detail about what happened, but actually when you go through traumas, things like that, and I think if you find an escape, or if you go and do something that makes you happy, that is going to help you get through a situation. And I've always been very ambitious with what I've done, and very driven, and had an entrepreneurial side. And I saw the property renovation and the development as a challenge. And obviously I knew nothing. I'd read no books. I knew nobody in property at all. And I was on site every single day. And that is how I learned, and that's how I developed, and that's how I met the people in the circle on my team that I'm part of now. And luckily I had very supportive parents that helped to get me through. But I accidentally fell into property. And actually, do you know what? I completely became obsessed with it, and I found it it helped to get my confidence back and made me happy. And then for the next 4 years, I basically kept obviously buying and flipping, but I wasn't moving as fast as I wanted to, because of the fact that everything was going on around me. So it's very much like, right, one project at a time, sell the project, get some profit, live off that for a bit. But I only planned to do it for a few years. On my second project that I did, I actually went for an interview with Weetabix because I thought, do you know what, actually, this is risky what I'm doing. You know, there's no fixed salary there. You know, you don't know how much profit you're going to get. And I remember going for an interview in the second year because I thought, do you know what, I'm a single mum now. I have the children most of the time. Maybe I need the security of my job back. And I went for an interview and they offered me the job. And I said, well, can I do a job share? You know, I'm doing this property thing, which I'm loving. Can I do a job share? They don't know. It's either that or you carry on with your property thing. And this is probably another question you're going to go into. But I think at that point, I had a big decision to make. I either carry on doing what I was doing and was serious about it, or I then returned to what I was doing before and had the security of that.
Well, I'm going to be jumping into the journey, how the business has progressed, because clearly it's worked out well, and there's exciting things in the pipeline. Before I do that though, I think anyone who's just listened to the past few minutes of you talking, that is going through a difficult time, whether it's personally or in business, and that could be anything from tough cash flow problems to something really personally traumatic. Yeah. Have you got any advice that you could go back and give yourself now that might be helpful for people to hear that are going through a bit of a tough period? Because I can't remember the terminology before it, but there's a theory around like growth after trauma. Like you if, with the right attitude, the right support network around, there's a lot of examples of people having huge leaps forward, and I think that's knowing that no matter how traumatic something gets, that potential is there, I think can give people a lot of hope. So do you have any insights, any comments on that? Yeah,
100%. Do you know what, if I look back at me 4 years ago, I was a not completely different person, but obviously I had, the trauma that was going on, and I was not in a good place. I was not happy. I was in a dark place. And I think when you are going through that, you think, when is this going to end? You think it's never going to end. But my advice to people that have been going through that are, you've got to surround yourself by the right people. I think there's people that you leave behind. And I think all you need is a few solid people to get you through. And you just have to keep going, and you have to throw yourself into something, to make you happy. I mean, my priority at the time was the children, and that's the reason why I gave up my corporate job, because it was the right thing to do. And whether you go into property, something else, property has been a game changer for me, because it's actually, I'm working for myself, because it's given me the freedom and the flexibility to be around my children, to do the school runs, to be there when they need me. And because I had them most of the time, it was important that I did that. And, obviously I gave up the salary and things like that. But actually, the priority for me was obviously the children and finding something that's going to work around them. And I think my advice would be, you have to be kind to yourself. If you're going through a really hard time, you have to be kind to yourself, and you have to look after yourself and your mental health. And I think because what was being thrown at me and I was having to deal with sometimes on a daily basis, I think there were so many times and points where I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing on the building site? This is hard work. This is, it's fast moving. There's big decisions to be made. But I thought, do you know what, actually, I'm just going to give it all, throw everything in, keep going. And I think if you look after yourself and be kind to yourself, then I'm in the best place to then look after my children. And that helped pull me through and help pull my children through. So you could actually say, throwing yourself into something that's challenging and that actually makes you happy, and you're selling houses and creating beautiful things, it's been an absolute game changer for me, and I think it's actually saved me. And I think if I'd have gone back to my corporate career, I think I wouldn't have grown so much. And you know, what doesn't kill you doesn't make you stronger. And I think I have grown so much, you know, and I think I'm at the happiest point that I've been in for a long time, to be honest, Adam.
And that is a result of being pushed into making, you were going through a really difficult time, pushed into making decisions to prioritise family, and then the unexpected consequences are actually being able to look back and go, I'm happier than at any other time. And I think there's a really good message for someone who's going through that tough time, because there's I think anyone in business, like, they'll know, like, sometimes it feels like you're riding a wave, other times it feels like you're swimming against the tide, doesn't it? But actually, after every tough time, there's a bounce, isn't there? And it gets better. So
it does. And you know what, actually, and a good friend of mine in the property world says, she wants me to feel uncomfortable a lot. In business, it's good to feel uncomfortable. And actually, I took myself out of my comfort zone, and I felt uncomfortable a lot. I felt uncomfortable about the situation I was going through because I hadn't been through it before. And also, I felt very uncomfortable doing this property thing because I knew nothing. And every day was a school day on the site, learning things. Yes, you make mistakes along the way, but actually that's part of the journey, and you're learning them and how to do things better the next time. And my advice would be, you have to go through that process. It's part of the journey. It's good to feel uncomfortable. If you're feeling comfortable, you know, that's fine and that's cool, if you know, but actually I think if you want to grow and if you want to progress, then you have to have those moments of feeling uncomfortable. And Adam, so when I said that I did not mix with anyone in property, I went no networking events, nothing, it actually wasn't until last April, so a year ago, when actually I had no social media, I had nothing. Nobody knew really what I was doing. And but I have to say, the people that I did tell and the people that did know, like close family and friends, when actually I started taking them around my previous projects, they were like, wow, this is cool. And for me, I wasn't really reflecting, and I didn't realise how good my projects really were, because for me, I just wanted to, you know, it was a mission for me, it was a challenge for me. I just wanted to get through it and do the best that I could and produce a beautiful home. But because I wasn't surrounded by the people, you know, within the property world, that, you know, the networking and the developers and things like that, I didn't actually realise how good and decent my projects actually were. And I remember listening to a podcast, I think it was the end of last March, and it was actually Girls in Property. And I thought, wow, there's actually a community out here of women in property. And I sent a voice note to the girl that heads up, called Athena Dobson. And I said, oh my goodness, this is really cool. And Adam, do you know what, actually, in those 4 or 5 years, you know, I'd been working for a big corporate company and a big team, and then suddenly I was on my own working for myself. It was lonely. You know, being self-employed is lonely. Being in a world that you don't really know much about, that you're learning, you know, with all the pressures, it is very, very lonely. And it's, it was tricky. And I have to say, since last April, this last year has been an absolute game changer, because I got myself out there, and I was, you know, I went to lots of different networking events, you know, mixed networking events, and I have to say, the people in property, in the property world, everyone is so friendly, so lovely, so supportive. Everyone wants to help each other, and you know, that is so refreshing, and it's a great place to be. You know, a lot of people actually with developing leave their jobs because they think, I'm going to go and do property developing and get houses because I want to make a load of money. But for me, it was not like that. My story is a little bit different. And actually, in a way, I do want to inspire people, whether it's women, whoever, that are maybe in the corporate world, that have got children, you know, single parents, etc., going through difficult times. I want to help people as well. And I think, you know, being vulnerable like this and telling my story about how I started, you know, if I can help people and inspire people, then that's really cool.
On the point specifically, like being able to use your own personal experience as a woman going into the property business, and you felt that it was male dominated.
Yeah.
It sounds like tapping into the community, the Women in Property podcast, all that kind of stuff. Looking back now, is that, I know it's only a year or so ago, but was that a pivotal moment of you going, yes, oh wait, this world exists?
Yes. Oh my goodness, Adam. And actually it was kind of meant to happen, because the podcast, at the end of the podcast, Athena was talking about this big event that all these women in property were coming together, not just developers, women in finance, accountants, surveyors, etc. 80 women were coming together in Hertfordshire, in Tring, I think, and at this one-day event. And she said, there's literally only a couple of tickets left. And I said, I want a ticket. I am going. I'm getting down there. So that was back in April last year, literally a year ago, because I'm going to the event again in a couple of weeks' time. And I entered the room, and to be honest, I was very, very nervous. I think it was the first big event
They're intimidating places, though, aren't they? They're intimidating places.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're entering those sort of network environments for the first time, you can know your business, you do really well, but who are these other people? And are you, not suggesting that you're not, but I know from, especially in the early stages when I was going out networking, it was all like, these people are ahead of me,
yes,
that's a lot to live up to. Put pressure on yourself.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think I was a bit worried, because I was thinking, gosh, is this going to be quite intimidating, being surrounded by people that multi-millionaires within the property industry world. But actually, because last year and the last year and a half, things have settled down, and I have the children a lot less now. The children were happy, they were in a good place. And this time last year, I thought, do you know what, Alex? This is my time now. Okay. I've been through what I've been through. I've grown. I am in a good place now. Now is my time to take a step up. I need to be surrounded by the right people in property, and I need to grow and develop and learn a lot more. And to do that, I need to get myself out there. I need to chat to people. I need to connect to people. I need to mix with people at my level, but also above me, way above me. And that event was an absolute game changer for me. And to be honest, I was nervous, but I was made to feel so welcome, so welcome. Everyone was so lovely, so supportive. At different points in their property career. And I connected with some amazing people, and I came away and I felt so inspired. And you know what, Adam? It felt like a really safe place. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's some really cool people here. And I don't have to be lonely anymore. I can chat to them and talk to them. And since then, I've been to quite a few events, not just girls in property events, but quite a number of events. So my next plan was to then become part of smaller communities and I suppose mentorship groups, and get coaching and things like that. And you have to be careful, because there are some sharks out there. You've got to be careful. And I think what I was finding on Instagram and social media, there's a lot of people that are pitching things, that are saying things that you just got to be careful. And I think I was watching people, speaking to a lot of people, because I needed to find the right community for me to be part of. And I am now part of a property group called Property Action Network, which is headed up by an amazing lady who's now become a really good friend of mine called Heather Smell. And she is an absolute powerhouse in the property world. And I am part of her community, and it's a small community, and I was one of the founding members. And that has been an absolute game changer for me. We're all very like-minded people, and there's some very, very exciting things going on with that community.
So definitely want to talk a bit more about the actual day-to-day kind of task at hand we're developing, because we've spoken about the fact that you're doing flips, but what have you got in the pipeline? Like, what's next, both in terms of what you're working on right now, and where do you see yourself going if we were to fast forward 5 years into the future? Now we're in this kind of new phase of your career where it is all about taking a step up to the next level and taking on bigger and better projects.
Okay, cool. So last year, when I started talking to people and they were asking questions about what I was doing, I said, well, I buy and I sell. And the things I was flipping are quite high-end stuff. So they're all sort of basically selling around the 400,000 mark. And they said, well, why aren't you keeping them? And actually, you don't want to be keeping £400,000 houses and selling them. So I knew that I needed to go into other strategies. Now, there's so many different strategies you can do within the property world. And I think it's all about doing the right thing for you that's going to work for you. And I took some time out and thought, do you know what, actually, what is going to be the right thing for me? What's going to work around my lifestyle? What's going to be the right thing for now as well? And I thought, do you know what? I need to start a portfolio. And I love the flipping. The flipping's great. However, last year, and I'm quite good at flipping things. However, and last year, this market has been tough. I, within 20 weeks, developed a beautiful bungalow and put it on the market. I think it was March last year. And the market was tough last year. And I only had one exit strategy, and that was to sell. And I didn't want to be renting this house out. So I then thought, oh my goodness, this is not good. I don't want to be in this position again. I need to be buying stock that has multiple exit strategies, that's going to give me, you know, the opportunities, different opportunities, and the security as well. Because it is quite stressful having something that then, you know, if the market is tough, the pressure's on. And when you have got your own cash in there, when you've got bridging loans, finance, etc. in there, there's a lot of pressure. So I thought, you know what, let's do things slightly different. So I decided to then go on the hunt for stock that I can basically buy and rent out. So much smaller properties. I then started looking at auction properties. I've bid on stuff at auction before, but I haven't bought anything. So November last year, I went and visited some flats and a beautiful Victorian abattoir that was coming up for auction. And
I was not expecting you to say that.
No. When you think about an abattoir, it sounds quite creepy, Adam. And I was thinking, oh, that doesn't sound very attractive. That doesn't sound very appealing. Do I want to develop an abattoir? However, it was only about 15 minutes from where I live. I know the town inside out. And when you buy things at auction, they're at auction for a reason. And I thought, you know what? I always go and visit these things on my own just to get a feel for things. So I went. Now, these two flats, the terrace house had been converted into two flats without planning permission, no building reg sign off. So that was probably putting a lot of people off. However, because the experience that I've had before, I've got an eye for detail. I know cowboy builders and understand things if they have not been done right. And everything seemed actually pretty cool. And I thought, well, I don't think I need to put this back to a terrace. So actually, if I can get these two flats, I can start off my buy-to-let portfolio. I then took my team around the abattoir. Now, every developer needs a power team. Everyone needs a power team. And I've worked hard to get my power team. I took my team with me, and as well as my architect, as well as my structural engineer. And do you know what? Actually, this Victorian abattoir is pretty cool. It's pretty nice and beautiful building. Lots of history there. I do actually need to find out more history. But it's right in the town centre. And I thought, you know what? I could develop this into flats or an HMO and rent these out and hold them and keep them. And then that is a great start to my portfolio.
And so the journey you've been on there, like the idea of needing to make sure opportunities provide multiple exit routes, I suppose that's the sort of insight you can only get from experience, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, it's only by being pushed into a situation where you're like, oh, I don't like being corded into this one route. So it'd be great for you to just talk a little bit more about how you've developed and become, I suppose, more sophisticated as a developer. Is there any other lessons like that you've learned? As your exit strategies have now developed, have you seen any projects that maybe a less experienced developer may consider but actually you've turned away because it hasn't provided the flexibility you needed for your exit strategies?
I think when I was actually flipping, for me, it's all about being in a location and also making sure the numbers are actually going to stack up. My top tip is always buy something that you could actually sell the next day for more without doing anything.
Gaining instant equity.
100%.
Yeah. And how do you find those? Because I guess that's what it sounds like, the dream scenario, dream sort of protection. Is there any specific ways that you approach looking for opportunities that are helpful?
Okay, so I suppose that's come with time and experience. I mean, I suppose going back, the first couple of properties, I probably overpaid and could have got better deals, but I was inexperienced. And I think the biggest thing is trying to find motivated sellers. And also really do your homework. And do you know what, Adam? Because I have used my own money in these projects. I've never been giving anything, even though the first one and the second one, they were under my parents' name, they put money in and I project managed. After that, I put my own money in there. And when you're putting your own money in there, it is more of a risk. It is more of a risk. And you've really got to do your homework. And number one, they always say location, location, location. You've got to get that location. Worst house and one of the best streets. And that is what I've done. And I think that has helped me sell things quite quickly and also get multiple offers on things. You can make mistakes. You can overpay for properties. And the problem is, Adam, is if you overpay for properties to start off with, especially if you're flipping, and then the market is in crisis, and you've got your only exit strategies to flip and sell, you're in trouble. You are in trouble. You can lose money. You can lose money. So the next thing is obviously the building costs and the labour and everything. You need to be all over it. And actually, that's where my previous role actually came in, because I was looking after big budgets. I was doing a lot of negotiating. So actually, I actually was able to use a lot of the skills I had before, within my property journey. Now, top tips when people are actually starting out, if you haven't had any experience of this, find a mentor, become part of a community, get help and support with this, because you're dealing with big numbers, and you have got to be, you've got to be careful, you've got to be streetwise. And I think with the abattoir and the flats that I've bought, I obviously knew that I knew the area. I did my homework. And with the abattoir, I knew structurally it wasn't ideal, but actually I knew that actually we can convert it. I took a planning conservation officer there as well, and I've got the support of them. So I knew, even before I put my offers in, I knew I was in a strong position, I'd done my homework, and then I started crunching the numbers on that. It's all about preparation. And within auctions and things like that, you can get carried away, and you've got to be smart. You've got to be smart, because people do it. Do you know what though? I have made mistakes. I could have done things better. Touch wood, I've never lost money on anything, and actually most of the time I've sold things over the asking price. But it is part of the journey.
When you come to looking at opportunities, and this is really advice to maybe people that are just starting out, how important is it to get properties in locations that you really know. You've said this latest one's in a town you know really well.
Yeah.
But like, what about people that are going into property work for the first time? They may be seeing these opportunities that maybe like, I don't know, low entry points, a terraced house that's up north for 75 grand with a good yield.
Yeah.
Those sort of opportunities exist, and they can look very appealing. Versus maybe if you're in the Midlands, it's a higher entry point, and the further south you go, it only gets harder, I guess.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, I do have thoughts on that. So actually, it's a conversation that I'm having quite a bit within my community. There's quite a few people that are actually based in London. And, you know, with the prices and flipping necessarily is not the right thing to do, and holding things in London. And we've actually been talking about other areas up north. And I think they feel uncomfortable by the idea of going up north because they don't know those areas. However, that's where the homework comes in, and that's where speak to people and networks, see what other people are doing, where the places are to invest. I think the other day we were actually talking about Leeds, and you know, people are actually investing quite a lot in Leeds, buying, you know, little terraces and renting them out and getting incredible yields. And I think even though sometimes it is the safest option to invest in areas that you're familiar with, actually, if you do your homework, go to those areas, speak to the estate agents, get to know developers, investors in that area, then 100% do it, because, you know, there are some fantastic areas up north to invest in, but you just have to be careful.
I suppose over time as well, like if you come across an area that presents a lot of good opportunities, you can still have this. It might not be an area that you've lived or worked in before, but you can end up building a lot of expertise if you just think, right, I'm going to really focus in on this area and spend some time there, I guess. Make all the difference. But yeah, very interesting. So I obviously follow you on Instagram, and I've seen plenty of stories with you down on site with a hard hat on and getting stuck in. But at the start of this conversation, you said you weren't great at DIY. How's that journey been on? How have you changed as a developer? But also, what insights does it give you being hands-on? Like, what value does that bring to the table? And how's it helped you being so hands-on with projects? Because I don't think people, if they're watching this video now, would be expecting you to be as hands-on with your projects as you are.
No. Do you know what, Adam? So, growing up, I think I was always taught that if you want to do something, get stuck in, learn how it works, you know, get your hands dirty. And because, get your hands dirty. And because obviously I knew nothing about property, I thought, you know what? I need to learn. So I was there every single day on site. And that was great for a few aspects, really, because I was learning about actually how the whole process from the start, the first fix, second fix, the finishing off of the projects. And I couldn't believe how much is actually involved in the developing side of things and how fast moving it is. You know, I was making decisions on the spot, and I was making cups of tea, obviously, for the team. Buying them Greg, so it's great because I was getting that respect from my team, and you know, I was getting involved with deliveries, emptying the lorries, you know, shoveling sand, etc. And they were like, no, Alex, it's all right, don't do it. No, I am doing it. We're a team here. Whether I'm project manager, I'm your boss, we have to work together. I've always been a team player, and I think it's very, very important to do that, because that's how I'm self-taught. That is how I've learned about it all, and I'm not afraid of that. And I think you know, it is hard work, but actually looking back and the things that I've done in the processes and everything as well, I don't, you know, I have helped to lay bricks and things like that. I don't, you know, physically, you know, do the plumbing, electrics, plastering, whatever, but, you know, I have a fantastic team and they are some of the best people, but I help oversee them, and I think I'm very hands-on with that. And I think that has enabled me to get the best team members that are very, very good at what they do and produce beautiful houses.
Do you think this hands-on experience helps you spot potential cowboys?
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Oh my goodness. I remember actually on my first project, and there has been obviously run-ins with some trades along the way, there was a plumber that we were using, and he was doing some dodgy things, and actually my mum picked up on it. She was on site, and my mum ended up having an argument with the plumber, and I had to intervene and calm everything down. And actually I did ask the plumber to leave and not come back again. And then I was thinking, gosh, I've now got to find a plumber. So yes, I have come across them.
But I suppose it's the hands-on experience of knowing how things should be done gives you the confidence
Yes.
to be able to go, no, this isn't right.
100%. And actually, because I was learning those first few years, I then knew how things should look and how things should be. And that has been a massive advantage for me going forward with how things work, because I don't get the wool pulled over my eyes. I know how things should be. I know costings, etc., etc. So that's incredibly beneficial for me. And it means as well that actually, up until now, I've project managed everything that I have done. I haven't needed anyone else. Going forward, when I get busier and go into other strategies, because at the minute it's just me, I will probably employ other people. But I think because I'm being self-taught and getting involved, getting my hands dirty, I have grown a ridiculous amount, and that's going to really help me rock it, I think, going forward, which is my plan.
If I was to talk to members of your team, what do you think they would say about Alex as a boss?
Alex as well. Oh my goodness. Do you know what? I have got so much respect for my team and the trade. You know, people just say painter, decorator, you know, plumbers, whatever. But I have got so much respect for them and what they do, and watching them work. It's unreal. It's fascinating, and it's, you know, they're so passionate about what they do and what they produce. So I think they would say that I really look after them, look after the team. You know, I do put them first to make sure they're happy, because if they're happy, then they do the best for me, and they keep coming back. They keep coming back for me, and also they prioritise me over other people. But also as well, they probably say I'm a little bit bossy. A little bit bossy.
You're the boss.
Yeah, I'm the boss. What they say, I've got my high attention to detail. I want things done properly. So if they know that they don't need to cut, you know, they can't cut corners. But we have a laugh. Do you know what? We have a laugh. We work hard, play hard. That is my motto. So, you know, they don't cross the line, and people have crossed the line before, and they've gone and I've dealt with it. But they'd probably say that I don't stand for any messing, and also as well, I'm just, very driven, and we all work well together. We know what the end goal is, and everyone just works and gels well together to produce, you know, beautiful houses, and that's what it's all about, and that's what I stand for.
So with this business you're building now, and developing is full on, it's high stress. How do you manage the balance between, like you mentioned there, it's work hard, play hard, but how do you manage the balance between work and personal life and children as well?
Okay. So I have my children half the time now, so 50% of the time. When I had them 80%, 90% of the time, it was a juggling act, Adam. And I remember actually when my children were younger, I took them onto the building sites after school, you know, after nursery, and with their packed lunches, and they used to sit there and watch me work, or they used to help me out. And do you know what, Adam? It's really important that they actually have seen me do that, and now they're older, they understand why they had to be taken around. They understand now, actually, and they're seeing what I'm actually achieving. And I remember taking them around the first few houses, and they're like, oh my goodness, why have you bought this, Mum? Like, what are you doing? But then it's great because they're going and they're seeing the progress and they're seeing the end result. But the problem is they want to live in these houses that I'm developing. So now it's
in the bedrooms.
Yeah, picking the bedrooms. Now that I have them a lot less, I have been able to take a step up. So when I do have them, so like on Mondays and Tuesdays, obviously they're at school. When they come back, I go and do the school runs. It's them. They are my priority, and we go to David Lloyd, we go to the gym, we go swimming, take to tennis. They are my priority then. If I need to do calls, etc., they're very understanding. And then when I don't have them, I'm working, but also as well, I have a really good social life. It is important to have fun, and it is very stressful what I am doing, and it's high pressured. And sometimes I do think, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? What am I buying? But as I said before, it's important that I feel uncomfortable. But I spend a lot of time going to the David Lloyd. I put my phone in the locker and I completely switch off. And it's really important to have that downtime. And I think when I was talking earlier about along the journey, I've lost people. I've lost probably the right people. And especially in this last year, and the people that I've met within the property world, I've made some incredible friends. And they're like-minded people, they're the right people, and they're going to help me grow and develop. And we all work hard, and I'm very inspired by them. But also as well, we go and we have a lovely time. We do some nice social things. So, do you know what? I'm probably not the perfect mum. I mean, what is the perfect mother? But I know that actually my children are very happy now. They're doing incredibly well at school, and actually they're very motivated, and actually being quite ambitious and how I am, I'm actually setting them up with really good life skills.
Totally. I think them being able to look up and see, I think this with any child, seeing a parent, a guardian, whoever it is, moulding their reality and doing what they want to do is such a powerful thing, because if you don't have that, then they have to learn it some other way, and often it's much later on in life. Do you know what I mean? But do you see them as now they how old are they?
So 11. My daughter's 11 tomorrow. Tomorrow, and then my son's 15 in July. It's just time's just flying.
So they are
mini adults.
Ages, where they can really appreciate what
yes.
impact.
I think so. Now I get questions about so how much are you buying things for, how much are you selling things for, and actually my son is doing work experience with me in June.
Oh, cool.
So he's doing work experience with me. So
are they working out margins and then asking for pocket money pay rise?
Do you know what? I have to be careful how much information I'm giving them. But do you know what? And I think I didn't go into this for making millions, but I know that actually I can make a lot of money from this, and I've been able to live off it and have a good time with it. Yes, there have been stages where I've lived off beans because I'm tying up all my money. And I did it obviously mostly for the children, but also as well to give. I knew I wanted to work for myself, and I wanted to give me the flexibility and the freedom. And yes, it is hard work. You have to go through that. But do you know what? I am setting myself up for the future, and it's really, really exciting. And it means that I can give myself more opportunities. I can travel more with the children, give them a better life, and they are understanding of why I did it now, because I've been able to spend a lot of time with them, their activities, be there for them, and also build a business and a career that I absolutely love.
And I suppose it's clear that your kids provide all the purpose in what you're doing. Everything you've spoken about is all about like lifestyle, well, not lifestyle, but that bigger picture. Like you said, it's not all about money. Outside of the children though, who or what kind of provides you with your inspiration? I've taken the kids off the table as an option.
So I think I suppose my parents, my dad started a business from scratch. He worked for himself. So actually probably growing up, I saw him working a lot, but actually he was doing something that he loved. And he sold that business, a few years ago, and it's really successful. And I just thought, do you know what, actually, if you work really, really hard, and if you do something that you love, the money will come. And if it gives you the freedom, to do what you want, and gives you options, then that's an amazing thing. So I think him, but also my mother, she gave up her nursing career actually for me, for the children. I've got a brother and a sister, to look after us while my dad was away a lot. And actually, so she was there. And I think because it's, I'm on my own sort of now, I have to kind of make sure that I'm there for them. Yeah, so basically my mother and father have inspired me a lot to do what I've done. And also as well, they've always said that, never give up, you have to keep going. And I think during the really hard times, where I was like, I literally can't do this anymore, I was really struggling, they don't know, you have to keep going. And, I think they are probably my biggest inspiration. Also, my brother and sister are very ambitious and got an entrepreneurial streak. So they have inspired me as well. But I think in this last year, the people that I've met within the property world and actually hearing their stories, they have inspired me massively. And actually seeing and hearing about what they've been through and actually where they are now and what they've achieving, oh my goodness, it's mind-blowing. And actually that has made me think that, do you know what, anything is possible if you put your mind to it and if you work hard. And do you know what, Adam? I think I've never been, obviously I'm very happy, but also I've never been so focused, and I'm ready for anything. I'm ready to feel more uncomfortable. And I think this has just been the start, the last few years. I know I've achieved a lot and I'm really proud of what I've done. But I know this is just the start, and this is incredibly exciting for me.
With big ambitions
Yes.
for the future, what is going to change in your business? What are you going to be doing differently in terms of kind of funding, the amount of business, the amount of projects you're taking on?
Yeah.
What's going to be your approach?
Okay, so a couple of different things. Obviously, I'm going into different strategies now. My plan is to build up, continue and grow my portfolio, whether it's rentals, HMOs, also flips. I love doing flips. I definitely want to continue that. But one of the things I really want to do is buy land and build eco houses, basically. So obviously that means I've got my part of money, but I will need more money. So I think for me, I am looking to attract and get investment. And, I think with my experience so far, I've got a track record of producing fantastic stuff and making money. So rather than paying the banks and things, I would love to work with investors that, whether they've got a passion for property or not, but that is something that I want to work towards. And I think it'll be a fantastic opportunity for them to invest in, rather than money sat in the bank. But it'll be very much a win-win. So that is something that I'm looking towards, Adam.
And what is the kind of typical profile of an investor that you think would be ideal to work with you? I'm thinking it might be a good opportunity to say cash rich, time poor.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So what's the ideal profile of an investor?
Okay, so I think whether somebody has a passion for property, an interest in property, but literally does not have the time or experience to invest in property. And I think because I'm starting to do quirkier projects, quite interesting projects, I think I would appeal to somebody that has, works very long hours, professional, cash rich, time poor, and has actually been watching me, seeing the things that I'm producing, and has an interest in, in investing. Or somebody that maybe has no interest in property, but actually has got, some cash that's sat in the bank and actually wants a better return, wants a good return. So yeah, they're probably the people that I'm, looking to attract. And then the other option are joint ventures, if I find the right person as well. I would love to do a joint venture, and I think, again, it has to be a win-win. It would probably be a strategy that I haven't got the experience in, so then you can work closely together. But I think it's a bit like being in a relationship, isn't it? You've got to get the right person. Actually, Adam, I have been approached 5 or 6 times from friends and family about their people wanting to invest with me, and actually it hasn't been the right thing for me. I actually have got quite a funny story on this. I'm single at the minute, so I've been on a dating app, and actually once guys know what I do and they've seen some of the properties, I have actually been approached and said, okay, I've got some money, how about I invest in you?
You never know where an investor comes from.
No. So actually, what I would say, and this is another top tip, is tell everyone what you're doing, because you never know who is sat around that table, who you're talking to, or who they know. Because actually, sometimes the best, investors are family and friends, and I have had family invest in my business, and I've given them, a good return. So, but to be honest, I'm not one for hard selling with regards to getting investment. I believe that naturally, organically attracting people, the right people, is the way to go. And I think by telling my story now and showcasing what I've done and what actually I'm planning to do, that's a good way of getting people interested.